In this video, we will be looking at the midpoint theorem. Now let's say if in this triangle AD is equals to DB, and I show that with those two lines. So let me write AD is equals to DB, and on the other side AE is equals to EC, and AEEC. So if these two requirements are met, then, right, if then DE and BC will then be parallel. So DE is parallel to BC. And if you look at DE, it's going to be half the length of BC. So DE is half the length of BC. Okay, that's the midpoint theorem. I have these two requirements, and then there are also two consequences. The converse of the theorem says if this AD and DB are equal, and on the other hand AEEC, same as previously. So let me write that down. AD equals to DB and AE equals to EC. But there's now a third requirement that's added here. DE should also be parallel to BC. Remember, it's the converse. So this is now part of the requirements. DE parallel to BC. Then this DE will be half the length of BC. So then we have DE half the length of BC, and that is the converse. Right. Let's look at an example. Let's say in this example, they ask us to determine EF if GH is 16 centimeters. So that's the question. Let's go to this triangle. You can see that DE is equals to EG, DF is equals to FH. So this triangle, you can already see the midpoint. You can use the midpoint theorem here. The requirements are met. Okay. Now, if the requirements are met, it means that EF is half the length of GH, right? So I'm going to write that down and say EF is half the length of GH, and the reason is just the midpoint theorem. And then GH is 16 centimeters. So I'm going to put in here 16. Remember, that's actually a multiplication sign there. Half of 16 is 8. So EF is 8 centimeters. And then in the next question, it's the last one, it says determine the size of angle D. Now, there are a few things that we're given on the sketch. We're given that AB is equal to BD. We're also given that B is 48 degrees, AC is equals to CE. So we can see that now we can use the midpoint theorem in this triangle. Alright, what does it mean when we can use the midpoint theorem? It means that BC is parallel to DE. That's one of the things we know. And since they are parallel, you can use your parallel lines for proving that some angles are equal, like corresponding angles, co-interior angles, and alternate angles. In our case, I can see an if it's corresponding angles, it's just lying on his head like that. There's the two lines. That angle is B, and that angle is equal to D. Okay, so this is what we're going to prove now, and then thus we will get to a point where we can say angle D is 48 degrees. Okay, let's write down what we know. We're going to say BC is parallel to DE, and the reason, once again, it's the midpoint theorem. And thus, angle ABC is equal to angle D. And both of them are 48 degrees, and the reason for this is corresponding angles. And there we have it. This is the end of our video. Please like, share, subscribe, and become part of the Whiteboard SA team.